The thing they don't tell you when you sign on with the Galactic Empire is that promotions come with fine print. I was expecting a bigger quarters, maybe a seat at the command officer's lounge on Deck 7, not a tyrant small enough to fit in a carry-on bag. She arrived in a high-security containment pod. You know, the kind we use for unstable plasma cores or venomous flora from Sector Kappa. Everyone gathered in the hangar expecting some kind of biohazard. What we got was Commander Thierry of the Kravari Dominion. She stepped out, all 3 feet of her, wearing a uniform so crisp it could have sliced through hull plating, and a face that looked like it had never once experienced joy. Or air. "Which of you is Captain Darnell?" she barked. "That would be me, Captain Elias Darnell, decorated human officer, proud nonconformist, and apparently now subordinate to a sentient goblin with anger management issues." I said, stepping forward. She walked up to me and squinted, her massive black eyes narrowing like targeting lasers. "You are taller than expected. This may complicate discipline." I had a witty retort queued up, something about Napoleon complexes and step stools, but the way she was staring at me suggested she'd enjoy removing my kneecaps for sport. I swallowed the sarcasm. Barely. She didn't wait for pleasantries. "Protocol requires I inspect the vessel before assuming command. Take me to the bridge. And inform your crew. I expect punctuality, silence, and total compliance. Anything less is insubordination." Behind her, Ensign Ramos was miming tiny fist shakes and angry stomps. I didn't stop him. It was going to be a long day. As we walked, I tried to make sense of the situation. The Galactic Empire was big on cross-species leadership experience. Translation: humans were too unpredictable to leave in charge of anything important without first proving we wouldn't blow it up out of spite or boredom. Thierry was sent to temper me, to mold my command style into something the Empire could classify and control. She took one look at the bridge and declared it a structural insult to command efficiency. Within 30 minutes, she'd reorganized the navigation layout, scheduled a full audit of our supply manifest, and ordered the uniform code reissued in Kravari Standard, complete with 12 new insignia positions. Lieutenant Sharp asked if we were supposed to pin them on our foreheads. He received an official demerit and a 16-page orientation packet. By noon, morale was hanging by a thread, and Thierry hadn't even begun her disciplinary rounds. She made the chief engineer recite the entire safety protocol manual backwards, just to prove we weren't rote-dependent meat minds. When the poor guy stuttered on Article 17, she threatened to reassign him to waste reclamation duty on a moon with 3 suns and no shade. I called a private meeting with her that evening, hoping to inject a little reason into the madness. I offered her tea. She sniffed it like it might be poisoned, and sipped it only after I drank mine first. "You find my methods excessive," she said after a long silence. "I find them counterproductive," I replied carefully. "Humans respond better to collaboration. Flexibility. You want compliance, but we operate best when we trust our commanders, not fear them." She stared at me for several seconds, unmoving. Then she spoke. "In the Kravari Dominion, command is not about trust. It is about precision. Predictability. Weakness begins where options multiply." "Well," I said, "around here, chaos is kind of our native language." Her eyes gleamed. Not with understanding, more like predatory curiosity. "Then I will learn this chaos tongue, Captain. And I will bend it to serve." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I was starting to realize just how serious she was. This wasn't a temporary reassignment. This was a mission. A conversion. The next day, she addressed the entire crew in the mess hall. "I am Commander Thierry. I am small. I am loud. I am not your friend. But I will make this crew the most disciplined unit in the outer spiral. You may laugh behind my back." Here she paused, glaring at Ramos, who choked on his drink. "But you will follow my orders. Or I will personally see to it that your next posting is on a slug hauler bound for the methane pits of Droska 6. There was a beat of silence. Then someone clapped. Just one person. Then a few more joined in. It wasn't applause, it was survival instinct. She nodded once, sharply, and stormed out. Later, in the privacy of my quarters, I received a data ping, an official performance review filed in real time. It read, Captain Darnell, respectfully undisciplined. Potential, moderate. Required correction, immediate. Recommendation, continued observation. If noncompliance persists, initiate behavioral restructuring. I sighed and stared out the viewport. The stars drifted by, slow and silent. Commander Thierry had only been aboard for 36 hours, and she was already tightening the screws. But beneath the drills, the shouting, the relentless enforcement of galactic minutiae, I sensed something else. She didn't just want to command. She wanted to win. And that meant understanding the crew. Understanding me, whether she liked it or not. Which meant this little war of ours was only just beginning. By the end of the week, Commander Thierry had filed 23 formal citations, banned the use of the word dude in all shipboard communication, and instituted something called Fleet Inspection Hour, during which crew uniforms were scrutinized for symmetry and thread count. The rebellion didn't come all at once. It came in quiet sighs, rolled eyes, and coffee cups labeled Hail Supreme Overlord left conspicuously in view. I tried to act as a buffer, reasoning with her in late-night meetings filled with tense silences and data charts, but she remained impervious to feedback. I have charted a 17% increase in punctuality, she said one evening, proud as a peacock. You've also caused a 40% spike in personnel requisitions for emotional recalibration programs, I replied. She blinked. Emotions are irrelevant to function. Not on a human crew, I said, then muttered, especially not one that runs on sarcasm and caffeine. Still, she held the line, until the day the pirates arrived. We were mid-run on a supply escort mission near the Tanis Expanse, babysitting a mining barge so slow it made snails look impulsive. The kind of assignment you're given when your last mission report includes phrases like unauthorized flamethrower duel and inappropriate karaoke volume. It should have been quiet. It wasn't. The ambush hit hard, for ships dropping out of FTL like wolves. Plasma lances tore through the void. Alarms screamed. Shields shimmered under fire. I shouted orders. Thierry overrode them. Protocol Alpha 12 Delta, she barked, standing rigid on the bridge. We must execute evasive maneuver grid C9 while initiating diplomatic contact subroutine Kappa. What? I asked, ducking as the hull shuddered. They're shooting at us. With guns. They may respond to formal identification and standardized negotiation. I looked at her. She was serious. Absolutely, apocalyptically serious. Commander, I said carefully, we don't have time to sort our way through the Galactic Etiquette Handbook. They're boarding in less than 2 minutes. She stood motionless, waiting for the diplomatic subroutine to engage. Behind her, Lieutenant Sharp mouthed, she's going to get us killed. So I broke rank. Helm, bring us hard to port. Manually override. Gunnery, target their engines. Defensive spread pattern. Engineering, reroute shield power to the forward array. Thierry spun to face me. Captain Darnell, this is a violation of Imperial hierarchy. You will stand down. But I didn't. I issued rapid-fire commands while the crew snapped into motion. Humans are messy, chaotic, and occasionally insubordinate, but we are fast. And right now, fast was survival. Our frigate rolled through a plasma arc, trailing sparks. A torpedo thumped into the aft shields but didn't breach. 2 of the pirate ships peeled off to avoid ramming. Ramos, on gunnery, grinned like a lunatic and launched a barrage into their blind spots. The lead pirate vessel exploded in a brilliant burst, fire and silence blooming in vacuum. Thierry said nothing, just stood there, rigid, arms crossed, as we turned a bloodbath into a standoff and then into a retreat. The remaining pirates vanished into FTL space with a kind of hurry that suggests they'd had enough of human improvisation. After the dust cleared, the silence on the bridge was thick enough to chew. I expected her to scream. Or issue demotion orders. Maybe even bite someone. She didn't. Instead, she walked off the bridge without a word, straight into her quarters. The door hissed shut behind her. Later that day, I got the incident logs. She had filed a formal complaint with the Empire's Oversight Council. Human captain initiated unauthorized command actions in clear defiance of hierarchical regulation. However, results were tactically effective. Further evaluation pending. No recommendation. No punishment. Just pending. The crew didn't wait for official clarity. By the next morning, someone had programmed the main corridor lights to flash "Chaos Wins" in Morse code. Ensign Ramos had crafted a crude action figure of Thierry out of wire and packing foam. She was holding a megaphone and writing a missile labeled Plan B. I confiscated it, mostly to hide my laugh. But the tension hadn't disappeared. Thierry was watching us now, closer than before. Not with disdain. With calculation. As if she were trying to dissect us down to the last unpredictable atom. She lingered during crew drills. Listened in on banter. Asked strange, pointed questions. Why do humans just during crisis? Why did Ensign Sharp call a plasma leak a spicy burp? Why does Captain Darnell refer to tactical improvisation as winging it? Wings are not involved. And then, the oddest question of all, what is a gut feeling, and how do you acquire one? She was trying to understand us, not just command us. I didn't know whether to be flattered or terrified. On the third day after the ambush, I caught her in the observation lounge, staring at the stars. No datapad. No orders. Just silence. Chaos, she said as I entered, is not weakness. I raised an eyebrow. That sounds dangerously like a compliment. She didn't look at me. It is not intended as one. Merely an observation. I have logged the incident. The crew responded effectively, but not according to any known doctrine. Sometimes doctrine gets you killed. Sometimes improvisation does. I shrugged. Flip a coin. She turned to face me. Kravari do not flip coins. Well, I said, taking a sip of my coffee. Maybe that's the problem. She didn't answer. But when I left the lounge, I heard the soft rustle of her uniform and a quiet, thoughtful hum. Almost like she was considering. She hadn't cracked yet. Not fully. But the first fissure had formed, and I intended to widen it. 2 weeks later, Commander Thierry did something truly alarming. She laughed. Not a full laugh, not human style, no belly holding or eye-watering, but a clipped, surprised exhale that could only be described as a laugh's earliest evolutionary ancestor. It happened during a malfunction in the gravity dampeners. The artificial gravity surged, then vanished for 3 seconds, flinging the entire bridge crew into a midair tangle of limbs, coffee, and paperwork. When gravity snapped back, I landed in Ramos's lap. Lieutenant Sharp was hanging upside down from a console, and Thierry was wedged under the navigation panel like a disgruntled house cat. She blinked, assessed the situation, and then made the sound. A tiny, startled huh. We all froze. Ramos whispered, "Did she just?" I said nothing, she barked, face reddening beneath her pale green skin. But we'd heard it. And she knew we'd heard it. Something had changed. She began loosening regulations. Not in sweeping declarations, but in subtle, nearly imperceptible shifts. The uniform pleat inspections disappeared. Crew drills included adaptive variant scenarios that were suspiciously similar to let's make this up as we go. And she even attended movie night, though she watched Galaxy Punch 7 with the furrowed brow of someone dissecting battle strategy from slapstick. Thierry hadn't softened. She was still sharp, precise, and terrifyingly competent, but she was no longer trying to crush the crew into a Kravari mold. She was observing us, mimicking us, even, though she'd rather eat engine grease than admit it, adapting. Which is why, when we were sent to intercept a rogue weapons freighter near the Zyron Fringe, I made the mistake of assuming we'd actually follow a normal plan. We didn't. The freighter wasn't just rogue, it was bait. A disguised battlecruiser loaded with black market tech and enough firepower to vaporize a small moon. The second we closed in, it dropped the act and opened fire. We scrambled. Shields flickered. Comms went dark. The enemy jammed our sensors and launched boarding drones in waves. I started shouting orders. Thierry overrode them again. But this time, she wasn't quoting regulation. She was improvising. Helm. Initiate spiral loop vector pattern gamma. Engineering. Reconfigure shield harmonics to reflect magnetic pulse signatures. Captain Darnell, trust me. I stared at her. She didn't look smug or commanding, just focused. Intent. Trust me, she repeated, quieter. So I did. We executed the spiral loop maneuver, flipping the ship end over end like a drunken top. The enemy's targeting algorithms freaked out. Our shield pulses mimicked ion storms, tricking the battlecruiser's scanners into thinking we jumped to warp. Then came the coup de grace. Thierry uploaded a virus piggybacking on the boarding drone's telemetry. It fed false navigation data to the cruiser's helm, sending them veering into an asteroid belt they hadn't noticed because we had jammed their sensors in return. The last thing we saw on the long-range scan was a very large impact and a very satisfying explosion. I didn't cheer. The crew didn't cheer. We just stared at Thierry. She tilted her head. I believe that qualifies as winging it. Sharp actually applauded. Ramos hooped. Even the ship's AI played a victory tone. Thierry stood in the center of the bridge, arms crossed, perfectly still. But I saw it, just for a moment, a sliver of pride in her expression. Not the haughty, holier-than-you pride she'd arrived with. A different kind. The kind you get when you are in your crew. Later, in the command debrief, she sat across from me and said, "Your methods remain inefficient." I raised an eyebrow. We're alive. Marginally. We saved the Empire a classified ship, uncovered a smuggling ring, and gave your rulebook a nervous breakdown. I did not bring the rulebook on this mission. Exactly. She glanced at the mission report, then tapped it once. You were right. I nearly fell out of my chair. She didn't wait for a response. Kravari doctrine emphasizes rigidity as strength. But humans treat unpredictability as instinct. You fight like fire, messy, indiscriminate, and effective. I misjudged the necessary control parameters. I leaned forward. Are you saying you want to keep flying with us? She met my eyes. I am saying I have more to learn, and it would be inefficient to leave now. That was as close to a compliment as I'd ever get from her. So, Thierry stayed. Not just as our commanding officer, but as something more complicated. A student, a partner, occasionally, even an ally in mischief. She never admitted she liked us. But she started drinking coffee. Started asking about Earth's idioms. Once, I even caught her humming the theme to Galaxy Punch 7. The Galactic Empire wanted her to temper us. Mold us into something more predictable. Instead, we did what humans do best. We corrupted her. Efficiently.